Hello and welcome, our world viewers, to RTD's News English Edition. As usual, we begin tonight's news with the major highlights. Development of the strategy for the reduction of infant mortality, health. Training in the technique of weaving and dyeing traditional African fabrics, trade CETA. And on the international scene, climate, the UN's wake-up call ahead of COP26. Those were our top highlights. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. The Republic of Djibouti is following very closely and with particular attention the evolution of the situation in Sudan and calls on all the active forces of this sister nation to preserve understanding and national harmony. It urged the protagonists in the current crisis in Sudan to show resilience, thereby giving priority to the national interest and the achievement of negotiated, inclusive agreements that meet the aspirations of all political fractions in the sister country. Djibouti is all the more committed to the stability of Sudan as the persistence of unrest in that country would be likely to increase the already high level of crisis in the region of the world, which is marked by recurring conflicts. Prime Minister and acting head of government, Mr. Abdelkader Kamel Mohammed, received today the ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Mr. Hussam ad-Din Ifat Mustafa Rida. The meeting between Prime Minister Abdelkader Kamel Mohammed and the ambassador was an opportunity to praise the bilateral relation between the two countries. The Egyptian ambassador did not fail to mention and thank the availability of the Prime Minister. A workshop on strategic planning in the development of a human rights self-assessment tool was held this morning in the conference room of the National Assembly. The workshop was organized by the National Assembly in partnership with the European Union and was chaired by the President of the National Assembly, Mr. Mohammed Ali Hamad. Organizing this workshop is part of the second phase of the PRAN 2 project, and its objective is to adopt a work plan for the Human Rights Committee and identify a work priority that will be implemented by the end of the parliamentary mandate. The video conference took place in the new video conference room. These new technologies will allow us to connect and exchange in real time with intellectuals from all over the world, said the President. The President of the National Assembly, Mr. Mohammed Ali Hamad, stressed that this hall dedicated to video meetings is a strong symbol of Parliament's openness to the world and that the hall is equipped with the latest generation of equipment so that members of Parliament can exercise the tasks entrusted to them in the best possible conditions. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, represented the President of the Republic at the Middle East Green Initiative Summit that took place on Monday, 25th October 2021 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The objective of the summit were to strengthen cooperation and unify efforts to address the challenges of climate change. In his speech on this occasion, the head of Djibouti's diplomacy welcomed this initiative launched by the Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia last March. He also said that it will have a significant impact in terms of fighting the phenomenon of climate change. A ceremony of signing a partnership agreement took place yesterday between the Ministry of Interior, Mr. Saïd Nour Hassan, and the Ambassador of France, Arnaud Guélu. The signing of this agreement makes officials the close bilateral relationship between the Republic of Djibouti and the French Republic in the field of civil protection. The agreement is based on three general objectives which are considered relevant for the development of the National Declarate of Civil Protection in all areas. To consolidate the structure of the National Declarate of Civil Protection, reduce the risk of disasters throughout the Republic of Djibouti, and to support the Ministry of the Interior in the field of crisis management, planning, and risk prevention. The Minister of Interior, His Excellency Mr. Said Hassan Nour, has from the outset welcomed the formalization of this partnership, which consists in accompanying the National Declarate of Civil Protection and Disaster Management. After the signing of the agreement, the French ambassador was giving a guided tour to the fire station, followed by explanations from the Director General of the Civil Protection Department, Mr. Mahmoud Musa Mahmoud. Held Dr. Ahmed Roble yesterday opened a workshop on the development of the national strategy for the acceleration of the reduction of material and mutual mortality, which was held at the Kempinski Palace Hotel. This opening session was attended by many partners and agencies of the United Nations systems, such as UNAIDS, UNICEF, IOM, UNEFPA, UNDP, and WHO. It is also worth noting the participation of representatives of civil society and parliamentarians who came to enrich the debate on the recurring problem of maternal and newborn mortality in Djibouti. The objective of this workshop is to come up with a new strategy for acceleration and pooling of efforts that is more adapted, rapid, and effective in order to considerably reduce the Heathrow high mortality rate among mothers and newborns. In the respective speeches, the UNAIDS representative, Mr. Farhad Hassan Farah, the IOM representative, and the UNIFPA representative, Mrs. Aisha Ibrahim, took turns to support this new strategy to accelerate efforts to reduce maternal and newborn mortality. As main partners in this action, the representative of UNICEF and the representative of WHO also showed their full collaboration to accelerate the process of reducing the maternal and neonatal mortality rate in Djibouti. For his part, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Robles, stressed the need for everyone to contribute to achieving a comprehensive and inclusive response to the issue which is close to his heart. The minister said that the most of the underlying causes are preventable if effective interventions are implemented in terms of equity, quality, and provision. He added that maternal and child health care is the top priority of this department, which is relying heavily on this work to drastically reduce maternal and neonatal mortality. Following the example of the rest of the world, the Republic of Djibouti celebrated yesterday at Ar-Rahma complex. This day rich in emotion saw the participation of many personalities such as the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Urufa Ismail Abdo, the Minister of Youth and Culture, Mrs. Hibo Mumin Asso, the Association of the Blind, Mr. Idris Mu'min, but also the President of the National Council for Human Rights, Selben Umar Oden, and the Director of the Ar-Rahma Hospital, as well as close collaborators. Songs and sketches marked that day, which was also highlighted by successive speeches of the officials who all praised the leadership and determination of the Djibouti government and authorities to guarantee all people with disabilities all their rights. The president of the Associations of Disabled People in Djibouti was also pointed out. The Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, said he was proud of all the achievements that have been made in favor of disabled people and children with special needs. As for the Minister of Youth and Culture, Mrs. Hibo Mu'min Asowi took the opportunity to recall the efforts of the President of the Republic, who has made the care of people with disabilities a priority in her social policy. The Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, in her speech, reaffirmed her commitment to inclusive solidarity. Within the framework of the South-South cooperation in the promotion of Made in Africa, an end of training ceremony was held this morning at the People's Palace for the presentation of a certificate for a training course in traditional African weaving and days technique. On their arrival, the Minister of Trade and Tourism, Mr. Mohamed Warsam Adiri, accompanied by the Minister of Culture and Youth, Mrs. Hibu Mumin Asoui, were welcomed by the officials of the International African Textile Exhibition. Indeed, this training, which was held at the Djibouti Arts Institute and which lasted 14 days, had for mission to equip 50 participants coming from the interior regions of the country on the basic principles and the techniques of dyeing, but also of weaving necessary to the development of their own units of traditional fabrics without assistance. This training provided the beneficiaries with techniques for making quality traditional low cloths in accordance with production standards. The participants had the opportunity to familiarize themselves with the practice of the weaving trade. The Minister of Culture and Youth, Mrs. Hibu Mumin Asowi, emphasized that this training as a new course will undoubtedly contribute to both the spirit of creativity and entrepreneurial initiatives. As for the Ministry of Trade and Tourism, Mohamed Warsam Madiri stressed that this training aimed to strengthen the operational capacity in African dyeing and weaving. A meeting on the state of play of the decentralization policy in the regions took place yesterday, October 25, at the meeting room of the Ministry in charge of decentralization. At this meeting, the mayor of the city of Djibouti, the presidents of the councils of the five interior regions, and the presidents of the communes of the city of Djibouti were present. The minister, Harun, and the local elected officials focused their discussions and debates on the assessment and prospects of Djibouti's decentralization, but also on the main achievements and future projects of the local authorities. The local elected officials began by thanking the minister for this important working meeting, the first of its kind since the minister's appointment as head of this department. They all expressed and praised the minister's personal support and encouragement to the various initiatives. The Minister, His Excellency Mr. Qasim Harun Ali, said that the meeting will allow to review the actions undertaken to learn from the past difficult experience and find ways to avoid the same difficulties in the future. The Ministry of Women and the Family, Mrs. Muna Usman Aden, visited Dakhel, City of Unity, yesterday, 25th October. Accompanied by her close collaborators, the Minister was warmly welcomed by the Prefect of Dakhel, Mr. Aden Darar Musa, the President of the Regional Council, Mr. Abdurrahman Yunis, the youth, women, and traditional chiefs of the region. After the traditional stop at the prefecture, the minister went to the headquarters of the regional council, where a guard of honor and welcome folklore awaited her. Surrounded by her delegation, she joined the population of Dakhel, who were waiting for her in the large meeting room of the regional council to start the discussions. The debate was fruitful and instructive and gave the minister an overview of the ministry's actions. Possible solutions to the difficulties raised were even identified during these discussions, having noted that the debate was dominated by the economic aspect. The minister recalled that this was not only the area to be improved, but the family well-being should also be taken into account by stepping up the fight against all forms of violence against women and children. In her intervention, the Minister of Women and Family, Mrs. Muna Usman Adam, thanked the authorities and people of the region for the kind reception and hospitality they received in the accompanying delegation, noting at the same time that the tour falls within the framework of the regional tour of her ministerial department. At the end of her visit, the Minister of Women and the Family and the delegation accompanying her visited the new Center for Women's Empowerment and Income, which was established by the Ministry, and met with officials in the center to discuss the way of working in the center. The officials of the center provided the minister and the delegation accompanying her with detailed explanations about the activities that the center undertakes in order to make it a center where women learn how they can play their full role as a woman and overcome any difficulties they may face to enable them to perform their developmental role and serve their community. We just learned with great sadness the death of the late Dawood Muhammad yesterday in Djibouti. The deceased Dawood had made his entire career in the National Gendarmerie in the motorized escort section. The widow of the RTD Mahad Dawood. We share the pain of the family of the late Dawood Muhammad and extend our sincerest condolences to all his family, his children, and his brother. We pray to God to welcome him in his eternal paradise. Amen. Shifting gears towards the international scene, with 5 days to go before COP26 in Glasgow, the United Nations is sounding the alarm on global warming. Greenhouse gases have reached record levels in 2020. Once again, the concentration of greenhouse gases, which trap heat in the atmosphere, reached a record level in 2020. The latest bulletin from the World Meteorological Organization agency makes no bones about it, according to the latest UN assessment. But these are beloved viewers, we conclude tonight's news edition. Thank you for being with us and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening and thank you.